our free webinar from Team Connections on 3 things direct sellers can do now to get more done. We're happy to have you here, and we're going to spend about 30 minutes here talking about 3 things, and then we're going to have 15 minutes of questions and answers. So stick with us to the end, and you'll be happy that you did. If you didn't know, I am Neil Phillips. I'm a coach who works mainly with people in direct sales. I'm one of the owners of Team Connections along with Dana Phillips, who you'll meet in a minute. I'm passionate about time management. In fact, when I went to go get coach training, I went to Franklin Covey coach training because I figured those were the best people in the world as far as helping people figure out how to manage their time. Before we turn to the other speakers that are here today, I just wanted to mention that Janet Daniels won't be with us today because of some personal matters. She was originally scheduled to be here, but some things came up. She's been in direct sales all of her life, and you'll notice her touch on some of the topics that we talk about today. She's worked in corporate positions, she's been a top field organizer, and she's a credentialed direct sales coach as well. So she loves working with leaders and coaching leaders. And just keep her in your thoughts and prayers here, and we know things will turn out fine for her.
Hi, I'm Mary McLaughlin, and I am just really blessed to work with these amazing coaches of Team Connections. But I learned throughout my direct selling business time how to think strategically, to create systems and strategies that work not only in my business but across my family and my life. And that really helped me build systems that made such a difference in how I decided what to do each day and accomplish things not just in my business but across my life. I did build a multi-million-dollar business, so I do know what it's like to juggle all those things at once: family, work, maybe a job, and volunteer options. But today, my passion is really to come alongside people who are out there making it happen in the direct selling world and entrepreneurs. As both a trainer and a professional coach, I love helping you build a life that is the most important one that matters the most to you. Dana.
And I'm Dana Phillips, and I'm married to Neil, but also we're partners in Team Connection and this great team of coaches that we work together. And you know what? Listen, I am so passionate about this topic today because, like Neil, I'm a Franklin Covey certified coach, and that's where we got our coach training. And time management is so important because time is the one resource we don't have more of. You can always make more money, you can always make more friends, you can always make more connections, but you can't make more time. And so I love that we're going to talk about things today. Neil, do you want to get us started and tell us what are we going to talk about today?
Well, as you can imagine, we're going to talk about 3 things that are going to help you manage your time better. The first one is we're going to talk about a family calendar. We're going to talk about the process of what goes on your family calendar, and it's a way to create a system that works for you to organize not only your activities but those around. Second thing we're going to do, and we're going to have a system to help you keep track of what you want to accomplish. The word REST is an acronym to help you remember what that system is, and I think you'll like this system when it comes right down to it. Finally, the third thing you can do is what we call the 4 Ds. It's a great tool that comes originally from some great trainers. It's a simple decision-making tool that you can use right away. So those are the 3 things that we have going on today, the 3 things that you can use to make your time management work better.
Well, I'm really excited because I'm going to talk about that first one, which is why a family calendar. And I just love it because, you know what, no matter if you have lots of kids, we had 5, or a couple of kids, Mary had 2, or no kids, your lives are hectic and crazy, aren't they? Yep. And keeping track of those family activities and being sure everyone gets where they need to be and when they need to be there, and being sure homework is done and school projects are done and high school stuff is done and college stuff is done and travel, everything being completed at one time can be a big challenge. So how do you get it all done? And one way that worked for us and has worked for many of our clients is for a family calendar. This is the one thing that really is a great tool to keep us communicating and on track of our busy lives. Now, many of you probably have a family calendar of some sort, but we're going to really talk about what you can do right now to make it something that really works for you. First, you can decide the type of calendar you want to use. There are so many more options available than there were before. We could do a paper one, you could do an electronic one, but you also want to decide if it's for the week or for the month or a month at a glance or a year at a glance, and we'll show you some different versions here in just a minute. So step number one that you can do right now is decide what type of calendar you're going to use. Second, you want to get your family buy-in. You know, it's one thing for mom or dad to say, we're going to do a family calendar. It's another thing to really get your family buying in on it. So one of the things Janet did is she let her kids know that they'd be creating a family calendar together and then share how it would benefit everybody. So she really talked and sold the concept to her family about how it will benefit. Neil, I know when you and I had a family calendar, it was really critical because you traveled so much. And so knowing when you got home and when you were coming and when you were leaving and then what was going on while you were gone was really important to you. Next, you'll want to share your expectations. You know, let your kids know. Janet let her kids know that it was their responsibility to give them the dates, and once they put them on the calendar, they would get done. They would be where they needed to be, when they needed to be there, and the school projects would be completed on time. Everything would go smoothly, and she also communicated, and if I don't get the dates, I can't guarantee that. I know, Mary, you and I were talking about this, that happened. It's like really getting the buy-in of the kids and setting the expectation is they need to get this stuff on the calendar. And that was the one thing our kids were really good about, is bringing home all the notes and the schedules for ball games and school activities and the school calendar so that they knew how important that calendar was. Then determine the amount of detail that you want on that calendar. Some of you will be very detailed because that's your nature, and you'll put everything on the calendar. Others of you, well, maybe not so much. You might just have a ball game. You might not say who it is. But whatever works for you is right for you. So let's take a look at some calendars. We've just actually asked some of our clients to send these in, and there are lots of calendars to choose from, big, small, paper, electronic. We're going to begin with paper calendars. This client uses the next 4 weeks, which I really love. It's a continual rolling calendar focused on the 4 weeks that we're in right now. So it doesn't start with one month and end with the next. It rolls over on the next 4 weeks. So let me give you a couple of tips for setting up that calendar that you can do right now. Put all of the activities that have a definite date and time, appointments, sports activities, practice lessons, your parties, your appointments, meetings, sales meetings that you have, business appointments that you have. Put all the things that have a definite date and time on that calendar. And for some of you who like color and you're more that I style, you might want to use stickers like this person to make it happy and fun. And your kids, particularly your elementary school kids and not toddlers, but preschoolers, will have fun putting their stickers on their own activities too. Now, here's another one. It was a month at a glance, and this is totally okay too. You might want to, at this point, add some due dates for homework or school projects. And you see here that this person has begun to color code for each family member, which is something I think, Mary, you did that too with your kids. Is you color coded for your kids? Is that right?
Absolutely. They each had their own color pen and knew that that also, what I loved about color coding is that it was pretty clear the balance of whose activities were taking over.
Oh, that's good. That's real good to know. So, and then you might want to do a month at a year. This is actually, you don't have to have kids to have a busy life. So this is the calendar that Janet and HL use to keep just the two of them straight. So it works great whether you're a family of 2 or a family of 8. It's a big calendar. You can hang it on the back of the door. And for Janet and HL, they keep their own calendar. Janet uses an electronic calendar, and HL uses a paper calendar. But then they get together, and they color-coded. Each of them has a color, and they use a different color for the things that they're doing together. Isn't that cool? So remember, add the school dates, beginning and end of the school year, school holidays, spring and fall breaks, family trips, vacations, and add business trips for mom and dad. Neil, you and I continue to use a big calendar like this, and we put in also some planning days for each other. And anything else you want to add about this big month and year at a glance?
No, it is. We even do a little color coding on ours, which with two of us, makes us see, oh, that's a business thing or that's a personal thing. So the color coding is a great idea.
And then you can also use your Outlook if you use electronic calendar. This is just an example of an Outlook, and you could color code it by family member or by the type of work, which is what I've done here is the type of work. That can be printed off and put on the fridge if you need everybody to see it, if they don't have access to it on a phone. Although a lot of our clients post this and they sync it to everybody's phones, and there are some apps that you can use for that. This one's easy to change when it's necessary because you can just move those blocks around depending on what interruptions happened or if somebody's sick. You can share it with other people, and it's really a powerful way. Many of you now are using your phone, and that's something you have with you always. You can put your appointments in it on the spot, like your doctor appointment or your hair appointment or wherever you're at. You can put those appointments on there, and it will sync with other devices. The key to this one, I think, is remembering that you need to put everything in it so that you can work your business around your family. And using a family calendar really makes that happen. It actually keeps me from double committing. It keeps others in your family from, not knowing what's going on, and so it just improves the communication. Now, truly, this is a lot of information that we just zipped through, but here's what we found. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get started. I remember my first family calendar was not nearly as complex or color-coded. I just started capturing dates and capturing things so that I wouldn't work on my kids' birthdays, so that I wouldn't work on my birthday. And, just really, I think just know, get started is the first thing if you don't have one. Neil?
Yeah, I would just really second that. When you get started, you can start to make corrections and fix it. It's not like it has to be done on stone tablets to keep track of your time. So get started and make some changes as you go along, and it'll just get better and better. So having a family calendar is one of those things that you can do right now to help you with your time management. This is the first thing to let you get more done with your business and your life and find a greater level of balance and satisfaction with those two. So, Mary, you're going to talk about our next idea now, aren't you?
Absolutely, and what I love about that family calendar is it keeps the whole family on the same page. I want to talk today about a system that I really started using almost 30 years ago, tweaked it as time went on, but it's going to help you figure out how to make the biggest impact with your time every single day and how to stay focused on what is the most important things for you so that you really accomplish what it is that you want to do and will make the biggest difference for you and your family. It starts out by taking time to focus. Now, a common denominator between all four of us in the Team Connections coaches is that we begin our mornings every day with a devotion time. It's how we refuel. It's how we connect to the person above who guides us and helps us prioritize our days. Accomplishment isn't just about getting more done. It's really about getting the right things done. So that time to focus for you might be just a quiet time to think. It might be a time where you meditate. It might be just, I know what it's like. If you're a busy, crazy mom, it might be locking the bathroom door for 10 minutes. Whatever it takes to have that time out for you just to stop and think. Now, this system I call rest because it begins with rest. It begins with a quiet time to get going every day. And it also, if you implement this every single day, I promise you will have more time to rest. So let's take a look at what rest really is all about. R is the first step. R is about routine. When we establish a routine, it just becomes second nature, and we do it every day without thinking. The second is about E, which is empty, emptying your brain of everything that you need to do, want to do, would like to do, others expect you to do. The third step is to select every single day what you actually most important want to accomplish that day. And the final step, T, is to track all those miscellaneous flybys that go through your brain throughout the day, to capture them all so that we aren't forgetting to buy the laundry detergent and some of those silly things that really do soak up so much of our time. So let's dive into the R. What is routine really about? You know, routine is about creating the habit of taking time to rest every day. Start out by putting it on your calendar and pick a time that works for you. This really does work best if you establish sort of a habit of doing it the same time every day. For some of you, that could be the end of your workday. A lot of people like to take stock of what they've accomplished and plan for the next day then. Some people, it's really important to get that done in the evening so that you have clarity and you wake up in the morning good to go. For others, it's about taking that time after you've been quiet and starting your day to really focus on what you're going to do. What's the best time to establish your routine? The best time is the time that you can make it a habit. Whatever works for you is perfect. Just put it down, put it on your calendar. Wouldn't hurt for a while to put a reminder in your phone that will beep, just to begin to help you get that habit going. So the next step we're going to do is something that we're going to do just once a week, and that's taking all the stuff in our head that we want to do and putting it down. Now at the beginning, I started with a spiral notebook, and every week I put a clean page, and I just took everything out of my brain, whether it would be something for my family, my home, my kids, my volunteer, the school, the church. Initially, it was just a big, long list. I did over time start to put categories on a page. That helped me just kind of organize myself a little bit more. And then each week, I would start a new page. Start from scratch in my head, empty it all out, then go back to the week before and see, was there anything I wanted to carry over? A lot of times it was exciting. I got to cross a lot of things off. But sometimes I also realized they were things I had put down that I decided maybe I really didn't care if I ever got them done. Now, these are not just urgent things. Make sure you put the things like, I want to read that book, or someday I want to travel to. Put your long distance or your long-term dreams and things that you want to have happen in your life. Now, I've gone to this wonderful little invention on my iPhone, the reminders, where I can just push the button and wake up Siri and say, Siri, add laundry detergent to the grocery list. And I do collect and empty myself into all the categories right on my phone right now. Whatever works for you is how it starts. But once a week, Sundays seem to work well. Eventually the first time it might take a while because you've got a lot of stuff in there. But if you're doing it weekly, it might only take 15 minutes to do this each week. So once we've got the big list of all the things we want to accomplish down, the next step is to select what we're going to do every single day. Now, I began the select process with a little spiral notebook and a pen that fit in the back pocket of my jeans. The key is, if it's paper or it's your phone, it's something you want to have with you all the time. Now, the select process, if you don't do any other piece of this system, this is the part that will revolutionize your life and help you get to the end of the day, the end of the week, or the end of the month and feel like I accomplished what was important to do. Each day, you're going to pick 5 things that you're going to accomplish. Now, I know there's resistance going up everywhere. I can't possibly only put 5 things on my list. Just hang with me here. Just hang with me. I promise you'll be able to get to it all. But just hang with me. Only 5 things. And here's why only 5 things. Because if you put down 10 or 15, we innately love that feeling of checking it off, getting it done. It feels so good. So you will automatically go to all the simplest, easiest, quickest to accomplish tasks, which most likely are not the ones that will make the biggest impact in your life. When you're only putting down 5 at a time, you're going to pick the 5 that make the biggest difference. So this is kind of my rule of thumb about how I pick 5. I picked 3 things that are urgent, drop dead. Now, I know that we've all got stuff that if it doesn't get done today, life might not go on. That's what those 3 are. Then one thing that's for the future, something that will make a difference later but doesn't make a difference today. Maybe it's plan your family vacation in March for July. Perhaps it's taking time to take a look at how am I going to set up my team planning so that my team stays engaged for the summer. Maybe now you're going to be taking a look at what are my children going to be doing this summer so that I have time to work. So that when summer comes, it's just easy and it flows and you're not stressed and racing around. One thing for the future. If you do one thing for the future every day, pretty soon that sense of panic and urgency will leave your life. And then I think it's important that we do one thing every day because we want to. Life is about living, and we want to seize the moment. So it can be something like taking your kids to the park, reading a book, taking a bubble bath, and it can also be cleaning out the closet, that thing you just want to get off your list. So once you've completed your 5, it's okay. You can go back and capture some more. Doing this one thing every single day will keep you focused on accomplishing what's the most important for you and the things that will make the biggest impact in your life. Finally, we're going to trap whatever's left. I love this quote by Timothy Ferriss. Being overwhelmed is often as unproductive as doing nothing, and it's far more unpleasant. Being selective, doing less, is the path of the productive. Focus on the important few and ignore the rest. That's what the select process does for us. So now we're going to trap all those what I call flybys. The thing that when you put the last load of laundry in and realize you've used up the last bit of detergent, put that on your list. You're going to capture that. When I used the little tiny spiral pad, I would have my 5 things on the front of the page, and on the back each day I'd put all the flybys. So if you've got your phone, you can just, use Siri or text it in if you've got fast texting figures. And the goal is then, when you start to work on the next day, you take a look at those and make sure that they get captured. Things like, I got to pick up the laundry. I don't want to forget to pick up my son after school. Just rest every day. And when you do, I promise, ultimately, you will have more time to rest.
Well,
Neil?
Oh, that's okay. I'm going to take it. That's okay, Mary. You know what? I just want to unpack just a little bit of what Mary just did, because Neil gave you Neil and I gave you a family calendar, and we talked about that. Then Mary talked about this rest concept, and I love the just pick 5. I think that's something that's really powerful that you can do. And when you think about it, it's something that we do tend to overwhelm ourselves. I've got so much to do. And so it's one of those things that just make this very simple, and I just want you to remember rest, rest, rest. Now, I'm going to give you the third one, and that is something that's got to do with the 4 Ds. Originally, this came from Jack Canfield in his book, The Power of Focus. And it's so interesting because most of us, when we think about decisions, we usually think about decisions in a binary way, plan A or plan B. But the reality is that when it comes to our time, it doesn't look like 2 roads. It looks like many roads and many opportunities that you can take. So the system that I'm going to give you today is a 4-step system that you can literally go through with every email, every piece of paper, every decision, every job that you have to do, whether it's in your home or in your direct selling business. And so we're going to give you these 4 Ds, and we're going to do them one at a time. The first question is, always ask yourself first, is this something I can dump? Is this something that I don't need to do? Items of low urgency, low importance often can be dumped. Think about email. I don't need all 4 Kohl's emails that are telling me what's on sale this week. In fact, I'd actually deleted and unsubscribed to Kohl's because if I want to shop there, I know how to look up anyway, and I don't need to waste the time of deleting it in the email every single day. Think about junk mail. Are you going to go through the junk mail? Neil taught me to just stand right at the trash can with the mail and dump, 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 dump. So the first question, that whether it's a task, an email, or a piece of paper, ask yourself, should I dump it? If not, if it's something, no, it needs to be done, then delegate and ask yourself, can it be delegated? Now, you know, some of us are so caught up in the urgencies that I got to get things done that we end up doing them instead of delegating them, because we wait until the last minute and then, oh, I can't ask them to do that now. That's all because, you know, and I'm guilty of this and have been guilty of this for a long time. And so I've been really working to say, does this job require me? Does it require my personality? Is it a $10 an hour job when I know that I could be making $100 an hour or $200 an hour? And if it's a job that doesn't require me, then I need to think about delegating it. And what happens when you delegate, you're delegating the activity. You're still keeping the responsibility, but that's a way for you to be proactive. Delegating frees you to work on the long-term income-producing activities or to spend important family time with your loved ones. You know, I'm just going to think about the example of housekeeping. Neil, I remember when years ago I said, I don't like cleaning the house, and you said, I don't like cleaning the house, and we could go make a lot more money if we hired somebody to clean our house every week. And at the time, it was really not, we didn't have the necessary, the discernment or the discernible income, discretionary income, that's the word I'm looking for. We didn't have that, but we made a commitment to do it. And I'll tell you what, that 3 hours that she was cleaning our house, I was making sure I was making money to make sure that I was paying for that housekeeper. So by delegating the activity, that is, and still had the responsibility, you know, the house still needs to be cleaned. I think it's just a real powerful thing. So look and see, what are those things I could delegate? We have one client who's $1 million earner, and he used to do all of his orders on Friday night. And so now he delegates that to someone. He pays someone to enter his orders, and he spends time with his family. So think for a second, what are some of the items and tasks that you would like to delegate? Second is to defer it. I have to be the one to do it, but if I want to defer it means I need to do it later. And one of the loving things that Neil has taught me is that if it's going to take more than 15 minutes to do it, put it in my schedule. And that really has helped me a lot. If it's going to take more than 15 minutes, put it in my schedule. If I'm going to defer it, so for example, if I'm going to say, well, I can't make recruiting calls today because the kids have this and that and this and that, then you know what? I know that that's an important activity. I need to set it in my schedule and defer it so that I've made an appointment with myself. Finally, there are some things you just need to do, and that's when you talk about that daily list of rest that Mary was talking about, the daily list of doing of the 5 things that you're going to do. Just love that. This is a simple decision-making tool to help you have clarity on it. Now, it's interesting because I have a 7th grade, my son was in 7th grade, and he said, Mom, this is what you taught me, but I didn't call it the 4 Ds. You said you can file it, or you can act on it, or you can refer it, or you can trash it. And of course, when you look at the acronym there, you know as well as I do that that's going to be something that a 7th grader will remember. So that's another way. If you can't remember the 4 Ds, you can look at F, A, R, and T. So we've given you 3 great tips today. Pick the 3 things that you're going to do. Maybe it's just going to be as simple as saying, you know what, I'm going to make a list of the things I'm going to delegate. And that may be one of the 5 that you pick up. It might be to use your family calendar, or I've had a family calendar, but I haven't gotten my family to buy in. So take a moment right now to really think, what are the 3 things that you're going to do as a result of this? Did you like the tips? I'm getting comments already. Thanks. Great ideas. Hadn't thought about that. Love scheduling the 15 minutes, and I'm getting lots and lots of comments on that. But I know we have so much more that we can offer to you, which brings us to our next webinar series, Bring on the Balance. We're going to help you uncover the secrets to taming your time, controlling your clock, and overcoming the overwhelm, because we know you can have balance and a successful business. Now, it's a 6-week series that's going to be from April the 7th until May the 14th. And we are going to have 6 weeks of webinars and group coaching. Each one will be recorded. There'll be handouts with each class. And are you kind of interested in knowing a little bit more about what we're going to talk about in these 6 weeks? I hope so, because week 1, we're going to talk about how to manage your messages. 2 things that are big here: contacts, contacts, contacts. And I know I've talked to many of you, and you've got stacks of leads, stacks of contacts. And if I asked you to get me a phone number in 30 seconds, you wouldn't be able to. We're going to teach you a system where you can get your important contacts within 30 seconds. And also what to do with all those emails so that you're not just overwhelmed with 580 emails in your inbox. Then the second week, we're going to talk about personalizing your schedule, and I love this because we're going to help you to create some margins in your schedule so that you can, using what we call the checkbook method, to actually personalize your schedule. Just like you balance your checkbook, you'll be able to balance your schedule. Then, of course, one of the best components that we have, we really believe, is that we do something other people don't, and that's the group coaching, where you'll be able to sign up to be coached, to hear other people being coached, to learn to not just on topics that are important to you, but to actually improve your own coaching skills as you work with your teams. Then week 4, I love this one. We're going to talk about overcoming the overwhelm, learning how to set the priorities, learning how to say no. Some of you have a really hard time with that. I think you'll love that class. Back to group coaching, where you'll be able to specifically talk about that area of time management that you really want to work on, and what is it that's keeping you from getting the satisfaction and the results that you want. And then finally, how to take charge of your paper. We know that there is so much paper in all of direct sales. How do you take charge of that? How do you organize it? How do you decide what's important and what's not important? Every one of these calls is live and recorded. If you're on the calls live, you'll be able to ask questions and answers at the end of every call. So here we go. How much is it? That's what you want to know. $117 for 6 sessions. That's really pretty affordable. But we're going to do an early bird pricing for the next few weeks, and that'll be $97 for all 6 classes and the handouts. But I know that you're on this free call knowing, you know that there's a special offer for you, and there is a very special offer for you for only 48 hours. So if you are listening to this recording, I hope you're listening to it, because this pricing won't be available to you after the next 48 hours, and that is special pricing for you. Watch for an email that's maybe coming to you right away that not only has later in the day you'll get the recording, but an email that's coming to you that will give you the information that this special pricing is only $77. That's right, $77. That's 30% off. That's 6 classes for $77 plus all the handouts. I think you're going to be really excited. So you should be getting an email today. We're going to open up the phone lines here, and we want to stay in touch with you. We want to be those go-to people that not just trains you and gives you great ideas, but also really supports you so that you're making use of those ideas and having the success that you want and deserve to have. So we've got some questions I see that are on the board, and we are going to field those questions to you and find out. Okay, could I hear what weeks 1, 2, and 3 are again? Anybody want to cover that one?
Yeah, this is for the 6-week session, Dana, because we were kind of running through things so we could get to the questions there. Week 1 is on managing your messages, which is keeping track of your contacts and keeping track of your emails. Week 2 is on personalizing your schedule. We're using a method called a checkbook scheduling. And finally, week 3 is group coaching to just help you try and figure out how can I apply these 2 things to my life. So that's those. There also is a question from a couple different people about the quotation that Mary had. The easiest way for you to get that is to look for the recording, and you can pull it right off of the slide there. So you'll see it right there, and you can stop the recording, you can write down or put it in an email, post it on Facebook, whatever you want there. So go ahead. We have, let's see. I'm looking for other questions.
Oh, the question was, is it track or trap? And Mary, go ahead and talk about the T in REST.
The T is trap, because what we want to do is trap those things that fly by. You know, think about a bird skittering through your brain, reminding you, that, oh, I've got to remember. Don't let me forget. We all have those things that hit us all day, so we want to trap them and hold on to them and put them down in our little daily books.
That's great.
T is for trap.
Good, good. We've got lots of thank yous here.
There's a question about finding some balance and prioritizing issues. I think if you're not used to doing this, I would really suggest that you start with a family calendar. Not just appointments, but if you want to schedule other things up there as well, you know, like a date night or a family dinner time, so that everybody's expected to be home at least one night a week so you can sit and talk about what's going on. Put those things on the calendar just so you prioritize what you're using your time for, not just your appointments.
You know, I saw a question too about, so the family calendar is a great idea, but how do you actually get everybody involved? I'm not sure my teenagers would actually do that. Then I want to just say, and maybe Dan and Neil, you might have some other insight. One of the things that really helped engage my entire family in the process of the family calendar and being committed to it was taking, not only on Sunday nights that I do my own personal, as you remember, that's the EAF, the time I would empty my brain. We also had a time on Sundays, maybe not long, 15 to 30 minutes, where everyone was expected to be in the same room at the same time without any television or distractions, and just talk about what's coming up for the week, what's going well, what we might want to, what somebody's struggling with. Some folks called it a family meeting, but it was just that once a week, putting it on the calendar, that it was one of the few things in our life that there was, it was a mandatory meeting, so to speak. And that really helped everybody buy into the whole notion of the family calendar. And I think, I love what Janet says too, the part where she says, if it's not on the calendar, I can't promise it gets done. So couple missed appointments or important things to your kids that don't happen because they're not on the calendar is a really poignant way to bring home the importance of compliance.
Yeah, that's really true. Did we answer the question about what were the first 3 weeks of the 6-week series?
Yeah, I answered that, Dana.
Okay,
that
great,
was
great, thanks.
I
see one here. Go ahead.
One thing we did to get our family involved was for the kids. They got to choose whether they had hot lunch or carried their lunch, so they could see the school menu and decide what they wanted in advance. So we had to go through the calendar so we'd know what day they had to make lunches, or we had to make lunches for them. So that made it real important for them to make sure they got their priorities on the calendar.
Yes, they had their little name in H or name in C, hot or cold. Yeah, that's true. There's one comment on here that really strikes dear to my heart, Neil. You'll remember when I first was, my first 5 years of direct sales, I was so in love with it and got such a high that I tend to work all the time, not just doing the things. And I remember after about 5 years, you sat me down and said, I feel like you are scheduling me like a train. Like, do you remember this conversation? And, and you just, it was sad because I loved to work so much that I wouldn't do the things around the home that also made you happy. And at the end of the day, I realized, why am I working? Am I working just for making me happy, or am I working for a better life for our family, for more fulfillment? And I really had to stop and get my priorities straight and say, what's important to me? It wasn't until, honestly, that conversation where you said, you know what, I feel like your work is more important than me, that I said, that's not true at all. And so I began to prioritize more of those family things, whether it was, that's also the time when I said, I can't get it all done myself. I can't do the laundry. I can't do the, get the housekeeping. I can't do everything. And so I'm going to get some help with those things to free up my time so that I can spend more quality time with my husband, with my family, and still work, because I loved working. So for the person who asked that question and having a really hard time making those decisions, it's time to probably do a real, I suggest, just a real look in the mirror and say, what's really important to me? Because my guess is that your husband is really important to you, and you do want to make him happy too, and that if you didn't have him, you might not be as happy. So I would just really kind of look at your priorities and do a real heart-to-heart with yourself about how much do I love work? Do I love work more than I love my husband? Do I love work more than I love my kids? Do I love work more than I love yoga? And decide what's really important to you. So that would be my advice. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
one of the things that I saw as a recurring theme, something I had to wrestle to the ground, and I saw it happen really often with some of my team members, was the families would start to resent their business. And I think part of it was their passion for it was so high that they thought maybe got out of balance. But another part that I found people really had to pay attention to was the messages they were giving their family around their business. If they were feeling stressed and letting their family see that, oh, I'm so busy, my business is taking up all my, I'm just so stressed, I can't get it all done. If that's the message that their family was hearing, the first thing they were thinking was that the business was the biggest thing that was creating that. And so it became really important for them to take a look at how am I, I might love my business, but is that what my family is hearing and seeing me say? Are they hearing and seeing what it's taking away? So I think that's another piece of that whole notion of balance, which is a little different issue than time management, but certainly the two play together.
Good. I'm reading some comments now that I just have to share that people, one of the things that we consistently hear, Mary and Neil, is that people find the tips that we give are very practical and doable. They're not like this pie in the sky, super complicated. And so I just want to say thank you for those comments because it's true, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this series as it comes up, is that you're going to get real practical ideas that you can take and go and do right away, do right now. I love this. There's a comment from one of our listeners says they do a calendar. When they scrub their calendar, they call it Family First. That's how they keep their priorities together. Say, let's look at the family first. Let's get those onto the calendar, and I love that. So lots of thank yous from people. Any other questions that you see, Mary?
No, not really, but I just wanted to share one of the things I'm taking in a quote that keeps getting brought to my attention as I work to get into my balance, a little more exercise. In the same way, I want to say this about time management. The most important activity that you can do in terms of creating a system for time management is the one that you will actually do. So whatever it is that you choose to do from this webinar, putting it in motion is what's going to make the difference, and picking the one that you can feel like you can commit to and feeling great about it and not worrying about what you're not doing.
Mm-hmm. There's a last question here that was really that I think is important, and we are going to talk about this in the 6-week series, but let me give you a real short answer to it, and maybe Neil and Mary can speak to it too. It says, what do I do? Let me get there again. I was reading it and then I moved it. Okay, what do I do if working it with a schedule and want to place time for family that cannot give a specific time and it's last minute? How do you deal with those? And I'm thinking you mean last minute family stuff that comes up.
Yeah, here's the answer I'd give, Dana, which real quick, which is that you schedule something in there that you can be flexible with. So maybe that's the time where you would do some phone calls or some office work, some things like that. Then if you have to, it's not like you're going to abandon those things, but you're going to move them to a different spot in your schedule because you can be flexible with some things like that. So that's the way you handle that. Is you just have to be flexible. It's not that you don't work, it's just that you're willing to take a piece of your work and move it to a different time slot for that week. So
yeah, and we'll get into better details of that in the checkbook theory that we use, that system that we use, I think, too, where if you put one in thing, you got to take it out someplace else. So that allows you to be flexible. Anything to add to that, Mary?
No, I totally agree. It's all about flexible, not optional.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a comment from someone, first time that they've ever listened to the webinars. It's very helpful. She'd been using a list, and now she's ready to prioritize with her values, get things done that are most important. So just really, really glad. And the person with the question, Neil, she said thanks for that answer. That was helpful for her. Just to remind you, you're getting an email that will tell you the dates and the times and all of the details and the $77 offer that you'll get in just 48 hours. Sign up right away so you don't forget. That's one of those things that you shouldn't delegate it, you shouldn't defer it, you should just do it right away. If you're going to come, get it done. So That's great. We're out of time. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Keep in touch with us, whether it's on Facebook or check us out, friend us on Facebook or LinkedIn. All of us are active in social media, and we really love to hear from you and love to hear your ideas. This series, this free class in this series, is a direct result of the feedback that you've given us, that it is time management, of using that time that we have, that is going to really support you, and that's what you want help with. So we're here for you, and hope you have a fabulous week, and we see you soon.
Bye
Bye,
now.
everybody.
Thanks for sharing your time with us.